Well, let's turn to our political reporter, Tom Harwood, who's in Downing Street now to reflect on that meeting between those prime ministers. Tom, what caught your ear?
Well, it was certainly interesting that the Prime Minister of Canada coming over to London on the first leg of his European tour, and of course Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands as well, joining these three Prime Ministers standing in that press briefing room that we've come to know so well, trying to present a very united front on whether it be sanctions, whether it be munitions help and indeed financial aid. That's one of the things we heard at this press conference today. £175 million more from the United Kingdom to the Ukrainian government. That takes it up to £400 million in total that the United Kingdom has given to this humanitarian effort, as well as, of course, that lethal and non-lethal aid. But it was interesting to listen to some of the questions that were asked. Unfortunately, there were only 6 questions at this press conference, 2 from the United Kingdom, 2 from Canada and 2 from the Netherlands. We really did try to squeak in some more at the end there, but they really weren't having it. But interestingly, the Prime Minister did seem to admit that the United Kingdom would need to exploit more of its own hydrocarbons. One of the themes from this press conference was how reliant Europe is on Russian gas and oil. Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, saying that they needed to step by step wean themselves off, that they couldn't have a one-go solution here because that would be so devastating for families and businesses in the Netherlands. Canada, on the other hand, completely energy independent, and the United Kingdom, our Prime Minister, both literally and figuratively there, standing in the middle. But it was interesting to note that the Prime Minister did say that we would need to be using more of our own hydrocarbons, and potentially that transition to net zero might need to go a little bit slower.
Isn't it? I mean, Tom, there were articles at the weekend saying this is a fantastic opportunity for the PM to really reset his premiership. Yes, hydrocarbons, and by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean fracking, as people assume. It could be going back into the North Sea in a big way. But also when it comes to our relationship with things like the defence budget, it's an opportunity within this threat for the Prime Minister to redefine his premiership.
It certainly is, although you mentioned the defence budget. One of the Canadian journalists at the press conference took the opportunity to ask Justin Trudeau about his defence spending, well below 2% of GDP, and the Prime Minister took a cheeky opportunity, Boris Johnson that is, took a cheeky opportunity to mention that ours is at 2.4%, very much higher than that of Canada and the Netherlands. So really, to some extent, compared to those other non-US powers within NATO, the UK is, of course, the largest contributor to that budget outside of the US. We have had a defence budget above 2%, although whether or not it's 2.4% is an interesting accounting trick. Do you include pensions or not? But certainly there are opportunities for the Prime Minister here. Through tragedy, there is always opportunity, and I think that the way in which we can look to the challenges, whether it be global leadership, of course the Prime Minister is meeting with 4 other presidents and Prime Ministers at Lancaster House, tomorrow. It seems like this is an opportunity for Britain to step up onto the world stage. It was interesting to note that Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, mentioned that he and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom were 2 of the loudest, strongest voices on things like the Russian Central Bank, on SWIFT as well. So really, to some extent, the United Kingdom leading here.
Tom, thanks very much indeed. Tom Harwood there.